Imagine still getting excited for Marvel movies. What are you, a 13-year-old from 2017? Come here, you naive boy. Things aren't as bright and cheery as they used to be. Marvel's turned into an abysmal, predictable dumpster fire that isn't even worth the time of a prisoner with a life sentence. And Ant-Man 3 is perfectly representative of this terrible trend. Now, I think Ant-Man 3 was considerably better than the garbage that we got in Phase 4. I didn't enjoy a single thing from that phase. Ant-Man 3 is probably the best movie we've gotten since Far From Home. But it still wasn't amazing, and it still is filled with all the tired tropes that we've come to expect from your mediocre Marvel movies. Like a predictable story that we've seen 1,000 times that has no twist whatsoever that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Humor that undercuts the drama and isn't even funny. The new, young, replacement character who's immediately better at everything than the older character was and spends the entire time lecturing him about how he needs a better moral compass. Terrible editing, especially during the action scenes. You can't understand anything that's happening on screen during the fight scenes. I mean, it gives you a headache. And then, of course, the most unclever political messaging you ever seen in your life. Rather than trying to explore ideas, they just have the characters bring it up offhandedly as if that's the only way to view a situation, and then they just move on. Like when Cassie shrinks a police car because the police are clearing a bunch of homeless people out of a homeless camp. First of all, they don't do that in San Francisco. If you've ever been to the city, you know that's true. And second of all, why are we immediately assuming that the police are in the wrong here? It's perfectly plausible that they are, but most of the time they have a pretty good reason for what they're doing, and the homeless people might have actually been causing a problem. Anyways, I just bring that up to say that they don't try to explore ideas like homelessness or anything like that. They just bring it up offhandedly as if you should agree with the opinion that they have, and that's the end of it. It's kind of annoying. Or like when Hank says, "I know socialism is a loaded word, but the ants have clearly shown us something here." Like, go away, writers. Nobody cares. Like, we literally don't care. This moment is literally just Hank's character disappearing and then the writer stepping in, looking directly at the camera and saying, "Capitalism is bad," which... okay, do you want to explore that idea? Do you want to maybe say something about that with the ants and have a story about that? Oh no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to have Hank say it directly to the camera and then move on as if that's the end of it. So those little things bugged me. But the movie wasn't mediocre, predictable, and sometimes not very fun to watch because of that. It didn't work for me because of the storytelling. We kick off the movie with Scott living the good life, feeling good after Endgame. He's got a book deal and all that stuff. We get some comedic scenes. I would have liked more of this part, honestly. I would have liked to see Scott's friends back, and I would have liked to see all of them hanging out and having fun just a little more before we go straight into the quantum realm, because I miss the friends, and the best part of these movies is always not the action part, but the comedic scenes and the scenes where everybody's hanging around making jokes, because this cast is obviously very funny. My enjoyment of this movie probably would have gone up a good 50 to 75% even if Luis would have been in this movie. Imagine if he would have gone down to the quantum realm with them. I mean, that would have been hilarious. But no, this movie has to set up Phase 5 and get on to the bigger things like introducing Kang and the quantum realm and all this stuff that nobody really cares about, but it's important for the future content in this universe. So let's forget all creativity. Let's forget having fun. All we need to do is tell you about the things that you need to know for the future, which is probably why this movie was so boring and predictable. It's because it was just a vehicle for Marvel to tell you a bunch of stuff that you need to know for Phase 5, rather than actually trying to tell a funny and fun Ant-Man story like we want. But anyways, after the very limited fun part of the movie, we find out that Cassie built some device in the basement of the Pym's house that can communicate with the quantum realm. At this point, I don't expect much from Marvel, so if you're gonna kick off a good story with a stupid plot device, I'm fine with that. I mean, I like No Way Home, and that whole thing started with a spell that could have easily been avoided. But anyways, they get sucked into the quantum realm, and then we have Star Wars in the quantum realm, which honestly would be kind of cool. People were trying to say that as like a complaint, like, oh, this movie's a copy of Star Wars. But I honestly liked that. I kind of thought that was interesting. They should have delved more into that. Because if they would have gotten us to care about these characters and the rebellion, then we might have actually cared when they came in as the cavalry during the final battle. But I didn't even know who any of them were really, except for the whole guy, who was hilarious, by the way. So I wasn't invested in their portion of the final battle. Anyway, some highlights of the movie. The part where Scott goes goes into that thing to try to get the power device thing, and then he turns into a whole bunch of versions of himself. That was an amazing scene, and I love the part where all of them are standing on top of each other like ants, and he says, because we all want the same thing. We want to get back to Cassie. That would have been an amazing, it was an amazing moment, but it would have been so much better if we actually liked Cassie and they would have developed a better relationship between the two of them in this movie. So it definitely struck a chord, but it could have been much better. And I just wanted to bring that up because that's a theme throughout this entire movie. There's a lot of things that could have been much better, but they're trying to squeeze too much stuff into the movie, so it all kind of got bogged down and it all kind of felt like abbreviated versions of good stories. Like the arc between Scott and Cassie. If they would have focused on that more, that could have been a really good story. And of course, how Cassie relates to the Pims, and maybe she's growing closer to them than to her dad, so that could have been something interesting to explore. The whole Star Wars part of it, where you have the rebellion fighting Kang, and you have all these people that you really care about, and you want to see them defeat the Conqueror. Janet's backstory, Kang's backstory, setting up the future of Marvel in Phase 5 and Kang's variants and stuff. They tried to squeeze all this into one movie, and it didn't work. It was just like everything was shortened, but there was a lot of potential in all the stuff that they brought to the table. Also, MODOK. I loved MODOK. I don't care what everyone on the internet is saying. MODOK was hilarious. People were like, oh, he undercut the dramatic tension. Yeah, but so did everyone else in the movie, okay? He's hardly the worst offender of that in the Marvel Universe, and he was hilarious. I love the scene of him dying at the end where he's like, you've always been like a brother to me. And he's like, at least I died an Avenger. I mean, that was hilarious. Okay, I don't care if it was kind of weird to be in this movie. I thought it was funny. I liked that it was Darren Cross. That was a funny way to bring back a really generic villain. And I thought his head was goofy, and I thought it was funny, and I thought it fit perfectly into the tone of an Antman movie. So everyone complaining about that is just wrong. If this movie would have handled itself better, MODOK could have been a perfect addition. And I think he was one of the best parts of the movie. You know who got done dirty, though? It wasn't MODOK, it was Hope. First of all, they gave her the worst haircut possible. Okay, I think the Marvel hates her or something because they gave her a terrible haircut in the first movie, and then they cut her hair like this in this one. I don't know what they're doing to her. But then they gave her like no story arc, no character development. She's just sitting there, and whenever she starts talking in a scene, you're like, oh right, Hope's there. You completely forget about her, okay? She was the one who was really done dirty, and you want to know why? Because when she comes back in to save Scott in the final battle, I completely forgot about her. I thought it was going to be Cassie, right? But it was her, and I was like, oh right, this is Antman and the Wasp. I completely forgot. So they really messed up there. Anyways, my biggest problem with this movie was that it was just completely inconsequential. The only thing that it really accomplished was that they introduced Kang for Phase 5, but Ant-Man and the Wasp got out of the quantum realm. Everything was exactly the same as it was at the beginning of the movie, and the only thing that's changed is that now we know kind of who Kang is, but I still don't really understand what's happening with him. So honestly, this movie felt kind of pointless, and its only value really is that it's funny, and even sometimes it's not even very good at that. So this movie's definitely a step above everything in Phase 4, and I mean everything in Phase 4. I'd rather rewatch this than Black Panther 2, Thor Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange, Mom, Not Home, No Way Home, Shang-Chi, Black Widow, all those movies. I'd rather rewatch this one, but it's still plagued by all the Marvel stuff that we've come to expect post-Endgame. So it's a step in the right direction, but honestly, after Guardians 3, I don't think we're going to be getting any movies even on this level, if you look at the upcoming slate of movies. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Ant-Man 3 and Phases 4 and 5 in general. Let me know what your thoughts are on Ant-Man 3 and the Marvel Universe. Love to see you back next time I make a video, and thanks for watching.